A pair of cold fronts will sweep across southeastern Australia in coming days, including the most powerful cold front of the year so far. Widespread damaging to destructive winds, hazardous coastal conditions, rain and snow are all expected and may create significant hazards. First, let's have a look at where these weather systems actually are. And on the satellite, we can shift our focus down towards the south of the country. The first cold front is moving through the Bight to parts of South Australia and Western Victoria, but it will weaken off as it moves away, so not expecting to see significant impacts from this first cold front. The second cold front is further south across the Southern Ocean and is associated with a very deep low pressure system with cold and gusty winds. And this second cold front will move up from the south as we head into Sunday and also Monday. So taking a closer look at what we can expect, starting off with Saturday afternoon, we see this first cold front moving through. It does weaken off, so just a few showers and isolated thunderstorms about the coast for South Australia, Western Victoria and also Tasmania. Tonight though, there is the risk of isolated and damaging wind gusts about elevated parts of Victoria. And then into Sunday, we do see this secondary cold front move up from the south. Northerly winds will strengthen and there is the risk of seeing raised dust across agricultural parts of South Australia and Victoria. And then to Sunday night, this cold front will approach the Adelaide metro area, bringing a band of rain, showers and thunderstorms, and winds will really start to ramp up from the west. Into Monday, we see this cold front pushing across the rest of southeast Australia. We see these very strong winds coming up from the south with widespread damaging winds expected across much of southeast South Australia, Victoria and also New South Wales. Showers will also push up along the east coast of the country. And then into Tuesday, we do see the coldness of the air pushing through. Snow is possible about elevated areas, and we still see those very vigorous and gusty winds coming through from the south. Conditions will only clear from the middle of the week, so there are quite a few days of rain and wind to come. For many people though, it will be about the wind itself. So having a closer look, we can have a look at what we can expect to see about 1.5 kilometres above the surface, and this is indicative of what could be mixed down to the surface itself. Through Sunday, we see winds strengthening through South Australia as well as Victoria. And then by Sunday night, we do see these very strong wind gusts above the surface exceeding 80, even up to 100 kilometres an hour. We do see this pushing into the rest of Western Victoria on Sunday night. Then into Monday, these very strong winds push across the rest of Victoria and also southern New South Wales. They really only start to ease from the west later on Monday into Tuesday, but even on Tuesday, we do see very widespread strong winds right across the southeast of the country. We could also see some very strong winds about parts of the New South Wales coast on Tuesday itself. In terms of warnings, there are no current at the moment, but we will be issuing warnings for damaging to destructive wind gusts. These will include very broad areas, including much of southeast and South Australia, Victoria, and southeastern parts of New South Wales. So if you are in these areas over the coming days, be sure to check for the latest warnings. It is worth calling out some of the impacts that we're expecting. Across southeast Australia, it has been an incredibly dry autumn, so there are quite a few weakened trees. These winds may cause elevated numbers of fallen trees and branches. Winds can create dangerous driving conditions, particularly with raised dust in some areas, and the winds may cause possible disruptions to services, including electricity. As well as winds, we're also expecting to see very large waves about the south coast of the country. We can see here these waves pushing up from the south with that cold front, and offshore, wave heights in excess of 8, even approaching towards 10 metres are expected across much of the South Australian coast. And the real danger is that these waves will coincide with the high or spring tide for South Australia. So we can expect to see quite significant and hazardous coastal conditions all the way from Port Lincoln through the Gulfs and all the way over towards Victor Harbour, and also very large waves approaching the southwestern coast of Victoria. These waves gradually ease up on Tuesday, but we could see some hazardous surf conditions developing across the east coast of the country on Tuesday. In terms of coastal impacts, we're really focusing around South Australia and western parts of Victoria, particularly, as I mentioned, from Port Lincoln across both the Gulfs, the northern coast of Kangaroo Island, all the way towards Victor Harbour. Large waves can create hazardous coastal conditions, and the high tides may cause coastal inundation of those low-lying areas. There may also be coastal erosion with those large and powerful waves and swell pushing through. Finally, in terms of rainfall numbers, we're only expecting to see moderate falls about the southern coastline of between 5 to 15 millimetres all the way out to Tuesday night. Higher totals are expected across Tasmania, as well as elevated parts of Victoria and southeastern parts of New South Wales. So with a lot of severe weather to come across large parts of southeastern Australia, it is important that you have the latest information and warnings for your area. You can get these on our website, on the BOM app, as well as social media. And as always, please stay safe.